I can remember when I was a kid, I was scared of a couple of things besides my two brothers. And I can remember the first time I confessed I was afraid of something. I got called a sissy, an idiot, and don't be stupid. And it still hurts. And so we as people of faith that are not afraid, and we don't have fear that grips us, we need to remember somebody that is gripped by fear, it's fear to them. And we need to be a voice of calm, confidence, and encouragement, not belittling, criticizing, and maximizing, because they don't have the foundation in the first place. Am I making any sense? So, that's the opportunity we have. I want to share two different, and I know there's been a bunch of y'all, but these two jumped off my just in the early morning. It come to my mind, and I thought, man, and I know I can share these two posts that these two people put out there without, I've not even talked to them, but that's okay. Scott Page is a 7th grade math teacher, and his calling is to be a missionary in the public school to minister and teach true history. Did I say he was a math or history teacher? Pretty sure it's history. History. And in the public school, he posted, hey, school's canceled. If you got anybody or know any kids that hadn't got lunch, that might need lunch, I'll see to it that they get lunch. And he means it. I seen Kevin's post. Kevin Haygood posted, if you know any elderly, homebound, people that might have health issues that don't need to go to public, send me, and he volunteered Miss Bobby Ann, you send me and Miss Bobby Ann a post, we'll go get what they need and we'll take it to them. Now, that's what we should be saying and doing in a time when fear is gripping people. If we're people of faith, we don't need to slap them while fear's got them in the grips. We need to act on our faith and serve and use this as an opportunity. Now, don't be stupid. Please use some common sense and wash your hands a bunch and use hand sanitizer, and you know what I'm saying? If you get a cough, if you get a fever, stay home. By all means, we want you to come back around. We don't want you to come for the last round. We want you to, you know what I'm saying? We want you, and so we put out several posts. Mine, half the people said I wasn't talking, said I had no volume, and if they wanted to know what I was saying, I had to slow down because they couldn't read my lips that fast. I was simply saying we're having church. We're going to take every action we need to, but we're going to have church, and we're going to continue on with life. And if you don't feel well, stay home. We're not going to auction off your chair. Don't panic. It's going to be fine. And Danny's post was connected to our children and our classrooms, and we have added a midweek extra cleaning. So I think everything's getting clean and Lysol'd immediately after service, and again on Thursday. And every teacher in every classroom has all the stuff they need to wipe down, clean up after every time your kids come. So we're doing all we can do. And we ask you to do what you can do. And we just want to make sure, and I just really want us to see this as an opportunity of people of faith, how to silence fears, and how not to add gasoline to the fear fire that is already stoked plenty high in our country right now. So let's get busy. How about that? How about let's preach for just a minute? We covered 2 Beatitudes. Matthew chapter 5, verse 5 is where we'll be, and then I'll flip around some. But we covered 2 Beatitudes. The first one is blessed are those who are poor in the spirit, meaning they are in need, desperate, and then they realize that their source to meet those needs is God. And then the second one is blessed are those who mourn or call out their grief to God, for they will be comforted. That word comforted we learned last week means to be brought near, to be invited to. And so once you know your condition and you realize how broke you are, how poor you are, and you call out and you ask for and you plead, you let your request be made known, God reaches out and he goes, hey, come here. And then he comforts us. And the third one, so the first two we actually talked about deal with more of an internal condition, where you're at. The effects of you, where you're at, who you are in here. This third one is the first one we'll talk about that really has an external, I don't know the right word, but it's more of this one has to do with how I treat you. Not how I feel I am or how I realize my condition or my state is, not what I do about me, but how I treat you. How do we treat each other? Matthew 5:5 says, God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. A lot of y'all's translations will read meek. God blesses those who are meek. I really like meek better. And so I'm going to refer throughout this preaching to those that are meek, because that's the original language was meek. And meek means to be mild or gentle, or humble. That's the meaning of that word. Where we have humble in the text, or meek. A lot of your Bible verses translate it as meek. And so we got to grasp that this is talking about how I treat others. How do I act out? How do I act? How do I portray myself? You can't be meek and macho at the same time. If you have to tell somebody, I'm the man, that lets them know you really ain't. Just saying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the truth. When you have to identify yourself, then I'm all this, and you're really not. You're just trying to sell that to somebody because you don't even believe it yourself. And so I just encourage you to just let this sunk in of this. Another thing I want to remind us before I start preaching is these Beatitudes have to deal with our attitudes. How do we perceive, and what is our attitude in dealing with other people? The Beatitudes. And listen, here's another thing that we got to grasp. You don't have one or this one or that one. The Beatitudes are all for everyone. This is the attitude of Christ, and as Christ followers, we should have and be getting. We should. Now listen, I ain't got them all good, but my reason for preaching this is because I want us to see what ones we ain't got, to realize. And listen, you can't say, no, that don't fit me. It's not like, well, you'll do that with spiritual gifts. When people have spiritual gifts, they'll be like, I have the gift of serving, and so I like to serve. I have the gift of giving, but I'm not very good at serving. So I'm going to give, and that's true. There are gifts. There are people that are gifted in giving and people that are gifted in serving, people that are gifted in teaching or talking, and you wouldn't ask somebody to preach for 30 minutes if they don't have the gift of communication. They're not a very gifted speaker, and they get up there and go, we'd look like this every Sunday or less. And so I want you to grasp the reason I'm pointing this out, not because I'm a good gifted speaker, and not because I want you, this ain't got nothing to do with spiritual gifts. But what we do is we take that mindset of we all are gifted in this, or we have this gift or that gift, and we apply it to the Beatitudes, because none of us want to have all of these attitudes, because some of our attitudes stink, and we use that as a reason why we don't really come to terms with where we are lacking in having the attitude of Christ. Well, I'm just not blessed at that meekness. That's just not who I am. But no. That is who Christ is, and we are Christ's followers. So we are to have and to be gaining in the attitude of Christ-likeness. Y'all following me? Is that making sense? And so I want us to grasp. I know all of us ain't there yet. I know I'm adjusting and growing in so many of these areas. But listen, if we don't know what condition we're in, we won't know what condition we need to focus on. And so this is just an opportunity for us to look at ourselves, ask ourselves, and find out and see where we're at. And understand why we should have this. Remember, I said last week, the reason Jesus taught this is because he wants his followers to be blessed. And he's telling us, you're blessed if this, you're blessed are you when you have this. And so why wouldn't we want to know? If we want to be blessed. And so Matthew 5:5, God blesses those who are meek, for they will inherit the whole earth. Put that picture of that bull up there. We talked for 2 weeks about calves. That calf had his head hung in the gate. And this is a bull that's in a trap, and that's my bull. Ain't that a good-looking scamp? Boy, someone is a bull. He could be for sale. I'm just saying. But this bull, I feed him every other day. I go out there in that trap, and I'm going to move them all. I'm moving that little set of cows. We just bought them, and that bull's going to be on about 20 cows, and I'm going to move them to the high school. I got a pasture lease right behind the high school. It goes all along behind the high school. It wraps around by the baseball field and the softball field and comes right up behind the residential area on 2 sides and Highway 323 on one side. So it says that kind of my typical cattle do not need to be there because mine like to be out. In fact, I've had 2 or 3 play baseball for a little while, and they do not like it when cows are on the baseball field. But anyway, this bull, I'm moving him to the high school with these little old set of cows. And there's a reason why I'm moving him. There's a reason why I still own him. Because he is a good bull, but he's also a meek bull. And here's how I know he's meek. Every other day when I'm feeding, and I go out there with my feed tractor, my feed mixer, and I get off my tractor and I start straightening all my troughs, he comes up there to that feed wagon, and he gets right there by that feed trough, and I straighten out one of them, and I whack him, and I say, get your butt out of my way. And I go get the ex-feed trough, and I get on out the way. And the whole time, he's just doing this. Do y'all know he could kill me? I mean, y'all know that? He knows that. But he also knows the moment he kills me, there will not be nobody to open the hydraulic gate that lets out the feed he so muchly desires. He would not be blessed by me if he stomped me in the mud, because I would not put out another ounce of feed. And my wife ain't going to do it. Y'all follow me? This bull is meek. He has the power to tear all my feeders up. He has the power to not ever stay in any pasture I put him in. But he stays where I put him. He takes care of those I entrust him to. He has a good calf crop. I'll be like, hey, big dog, take care of my women's. He does what I want him to do, and he don't do what I don't want. He is meek. He has unlimited power, but it stays under control. And so another reason I'm sending him to the high school is because the high school has pretty good out perimeter fences, but the pens, the lots, they're not there. They're just not there. They look like lots. Y'all ever have any of them? Look like lots? You lean lots of stuff on each other? That look like, but I'm telling you, a good heavy bird land on it, something gonna fall. And so, but I know this bull, and I can pin this bull because he loves to eat, and I can sort him, and he'll never hit nothing. He's not gonna jump. So I know him. That's why I keep him, and that's why I send him to the high school. And I will bless him with good women, good grass, clean water, easy living. He won't have to stress and strain. He'll look that fat in the dead of winter as he does in the summer. I mean, I'm going to take care of him. Psalms 37, 8 through 11. This is David writing, and I want you to grasp what David writing in the Psalms. He says, stop being angry, turn away from your rage. Don't lose your temper, it only leads to harm. For the wicked will be destroyed, but those who trust in the Lord will possess the land. He is the boss over the land I put him on. That bull is. He is the boss. It is his pasture. And he only has that because I gave it to him. But if he had a bad attitude and he was mad and he was destructive and he cost me money because I was always fixing stuff behind him, I would not have him. And David is saying, don't be angry. Turn off your rage. Don't lose your temper. It only leads to more harm. For the wicked will be destroyed, but those who trust in the Lord will possess the land. That's what I want us to see about meekness. what David is saying is, if you leave it up to your own nature, you will get angry. You will remain angry. He says stop being angry. So even in this world, in our life, you're going to have times where you're angry. But you need to not always continue in your anger. Stop being angry. Turn off your rage. You can turn it on or off. And sometimes your wife may turn it on, but you have to choose to turn it off. And I promise you, if you don't turn it off, it only gets worse, right? So he wants you to see. He wants you to grasp. David wants you to know, don't operate and function in your natural state, in your full-blown man condition. Turn it off. Turn it off. I watched this bull last year. I had him on a set of Coriani cows just because I wanted to see what they'd look like. He had some really good heifers. Had a couple had probably a 50-50 calf crop. And I got to watching last year late. I left one of them bulls a bull, and I just let him keep growing. I just didn't care. I didn't figure he was worth a whole lot of money. One of his calves out of one of them Corianis, he had a really good daddy and a pretty bad mama, and just go see if he could come out of it or not. And so I just left him alone. And this bull got up to being a yearling, and this calf thought he was big and bad. And I watched this calf. He'd bull up there by his old daddy, and I even watched him headbutt him. This calf weighed 500. He's like a year old. And if y'all knew how sad that was, you'd have laughed right then. But this old big bull weighs 1,700, and this calf headbutting him and pushing on him. And this big old bull, he'd just let him push, and that calf, and then the calf would, he'd eventually walk off, and this bull, he could care less. I'll bring in a few bulls every now and then. I'll catch them at the sale barn, or we'll need to feed them for a little while, and I'll kick them out in a trap. And I don't know if y'all, all y'all don't know it, but bulls have testosterone, and kind of like a maybe a junior high schoolish locker room. You kick out a bull, and there ain't nothing but a fence between him and two more bulls, and I don't know. I mean, y'all got the picture? Walking down that old big bull. That gray bull, he lays underneath the shade tree, and he's like, "Dude, you're a steak. You don't know it yet." I mean, they won't even get him up. I mean, he won't even get up out of the shade. And they all be bellering, and them old bulls that are, they're just steak on hoof still. They'll be wallering in the dirt and pawing and making a dang bull waller in my trap, ticking me off even more, making me want to get them out of there quicker. They don't even know it. My old big man, he's just laying over there on the shade tree. Please. He has all the power. I'm trying to establish this mentality of this bull and help us to use this bull to see what should our attitude be? What should our attitudes be? Psalms 147 verse 6 says, "The Lord supports the humble, but he brings the wicked down into the dust." Psalms 149:4 says, "The Lord delights in his people, and he crowns the humble with victory." Same word, meek. The Lord looks out for you if you ain't looking out for yourself. So I want us to grasp, and I want us to see and look at King David. Now, I'm going to summarize a couple things, and I think maybe in your bulletin you got 1 Samuel chapter 24 written down. If you don't, write it down. You need to study 1 Samuel chapter 24, the whole chapter. You just need to read it. But I want you to grasp how David, and I want you to think about King David. King David made worser, bigger, and morer mistakes than all of us. That killed you, didn't it, Jennifer Craig? Yeah, all you kids that just heard me, y'all need to know that's how you really ought to talk. They brainwashing you. I mean, King David could mess some stuff up, okay? He did mess up his share. But if you'll study 1 Samuel 24, you'll see something. Basically, David was on the run from King Saul. King Saul had to take care of some business, and David and his whole crew of men are hiding in the back of a cave, and King Saul goes in there to tend to his business, right? And while he's tending his business, King David kind of sneaks up on him, and his guys are telling him, "Get him." I mean, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity. I mean, this dude's, he's toast. Saul can't do nothing. And David said, "No, I can't do it." And he cut off a hem of his garment. And he said, I cannot lay a hand on God's anointed. In chapter 26, This is another situation, and I condensed it a little bit, so I'm going to read it to you, verses 8 through 11. David and his buddies sneak into Saul's camp, and they're actually standing over the top of a sleeping King Saul. King Saul is out, and they're right there. And he says, God has surely handed your enemy over to you at this time. Abishai whispered it to David. Let me pin him to the ground with one thrust of the spear. I won't need to strike twice. I mean, this sucker's laid out asleep, and he's literally meaning, if you let me grab that spear or use my spear, I will stick it through him into the ground. He'll never know what hit him, and he'll never move. And I know one shot's all I need. So he's like, he says, won't need to strike twice. No, David said, don't kill him. For who can remain innocent after attacking the Lord's anointed one? Surely the Lord will strike Saul down someday. Surely, who's that tell you David's trusting? The Lord. Surely the Lord will strike Saul down someday, or he will die of old age, or in a battle. Surely, we're going to find a vaccine for the coronavirus. Surely we will. But, or it'll run its course and it'll die out. I mean, are y'all following me? Surely it's going to be okay. The Lord forbid that I should kill the one that he has anointed, but take his spear and his jug of water beside his head, and then let's get out of here. And so what did David, in that encounter, David had all the power. He had all the power. He had all the position. He had all the position. And he had all the peer pressure. Those that were with him were saying, take him out, take him out. But David operated meekly. Even though he had all that, he said, I'm not going to trust in what I have. I'm going to keep my trust in the Lord. Truly meek does not mean weak. Meek is to have power, have position, have priority, but refuse to utilize what you have and trust in the Lord for what he has. That's meekness. That's meekness. That's what Jesus did. He said, do you not know I could call and my Father would send how many? 10,000. I mean, it was boom. Do you not know what I could do? But the Lord's will be done. Not my will. Y'all follow me? That's meek. That's the beatitude we got to be trying to attain. How many of y'all know I'm not very good at this? I mean, this is as I studied and read, I had Coach Glenn Hughes, one of our elders, over at my house at 5:30 one morning to drink coffee to help me wrestle with, I thought, the meaning of this message. But really it was the lack of my ability to have this attitude. And so I wrestled with this because I want to be Christ-like. And this was not what I was taught. My dad taught me, if somebody walks up to you and says, boy, let me tell you, before he gets the second I'll do out of his mouth, you better have punched him in the throat. And when he goes down, you better stomp him till he quits wiggling. That's what I was taught. And so when I've battled Satan, I have 9 times out of 10 battled him in my own strength. Battle him in my own position. Battle him with my own peer pressure. Battle him within my own power. And he can kick my skinny, narrow, chicken leg having butt every day of the week. But if I remain meek and I trust in the Lord, that's when the scripture comes true. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in this world. But when I operate in my own strength, I put the he that is in me in the back seat. And so we got to grab, it starts with your attitude. Starts with your attitude. How can we have the right attitude? So King David, think about this, had killed a lion and a bear while he was a boy. Killed a giant as a young ruddy feller. I'm not sure what ruddy means. Kind of spindly. I think it was just about the time, it don't matter what I think. Pimples were showing up. And he said, shoot, give me that rock. And he kills a giant. And yet here he is unwilling to lay a hand on King Saul. Do you know how hard that would be? Saul has chased him and talked smack about him, running plumb out of town. I'm telling you right now, if I had ever killed a bear or a lion, I ain't no man finna run me out of town. I would not give up my seat at the Dairy Queen. No. Are you kidding me? I ain't giving up my spot in the line. And but you see David operating in a meekness, a meek man. Look at what happens for King David. Where'd I have you go to? 2 Samuel 5, 1 and 2. I probably won't read no more than this because it's a little bit too wordy. Then all the tribes of Israel went to David at Hebron and told him, we are your own flesh and blood. In the past when Saul was our king, you were the one who really led the forces of Israel. And the Lord told you, you will be the shepherds of my people Israel. You will be Israel's leader. Go to verse 3. It says, so there at Hebron, King David made a covenant before the Lord with all the elders of Israel. God united the nation of Israel under the leadership of King David. You follow me? Look at verse 10. Go to verse 10. And David became more and more powerful because the Lord God of heaven's armies was with him. Look at verse 12. And David realized that the Lord had confirmed him as king over Israel and had blessed his kingdom for the sake of his people of Israel. So because David operated meekly, you got me? In this situation, this is the attitude and the results of the attitude. Because David operated meekly, dealing with Saul and the shift of his kingship into the power and the authority of David. Because David operated in a meek manner, God united all the nation of Israel under the headship of David, and he blessed him more and more and made him more and more powerful. David was the greatest king of Israel. Reigned for 30-something years in a time of peace. 1 Chronicles chapter 11, verse 9, do you have that? David became greater and greater, for the Lord of hosts was with him. Can I tell you this? If David had not acted and had the attitude of meekness, and he killed Saul, he still would have been king. Because he was in position, he would have overthrown Saul's son. He was already anointed. I believe he still would have became king, but he would not have been blessed. He would not have united the nation of Israel, and the nation itself would have completely fractured and become less than it was. But because he was meek and he operated with the meekness of God, God done for him and brought them together and united the nation of Israel.